In this position, material is equal. But still, someone is better here. Now take a moment to think about who that is and why. The thing here is that black is actually better. Now despite him having doubled pawns here, a worse pawn structure than we do, still he has such a big activity here with the rook and with the bishop that he's just better. I mean, just look at black's pieces. His rook is on the second rank, which can easily attack our pawns. This bishop is very active, putting our rook in a passive position, just defending this pawn here on a4. So our pieces are just not active and black's pieces are having all the fun. But now let's see what white can do in this position to save himself. After king to e1, moving the king closer to the center and attacking the rook had to move to b2, and now after bishop to d1, we basically want to exchange some pieces here because, like I said, this bishop was really just dominating our rook here, which is not a great trade. So we want to trade off this active bishop for our bishop, which was not that active. Now the best move here for black would be something like bishop to c4, not allowing a trade. White's king is really dominated, he can't go to d2, he can go to e2, he can go to f1. This bishop can't go back because, we just lose it. Our rook is here passively defending the pawn, and we're just kind of stuck as white. And this is a pretty bad position for white. Black is going to move his king up the board, and it's just going to be terrible for us. But luckily, black took the bishop on d1, and we quickly recapture it with a rook. Now black's rook is still more active than our rook here, but since it's a rook endgame now, they tend to be more drawish, and we can try to activate our rook quickly, so it's not such a huge problem as it was before. After king to e7 and rook to d4, the idea of course is that we want to protect this pawn on a4, but not on a1, because the rook here on a1 is less active than it is on d4. So after rook to a2, we played rook to c4. So the rook now is not only defending, but it's also attacking the pawn. Now after king to d6, defending the pawn, h4, and now after c5, it seems like our rook is a bit weirdly placed here, because it has no squares to go to, and if the king would attack this rook, it would be lost, because it can't move anywhere. But now the problem for the opponent's king is that the king can't go here to attack the rook, and it also can't go here to attack the rook, because we have those two pawns preventing him from doing that. So it's really a very interesting position here for the rook, and the rook seems very passive. But what's fascinating about this position is that even though this rook here seems really dumb, it still has a role to play, it's still attacking this pawn on c5, so either the king or the rook has to defend this pawn. So we're basically here trading our rook for the king, because the king can't go anywhere else because we will just take the pawn. So what we're left with is his rook against our king. And luckily this rook is protecting everything here. So our king just has to protect these pawns here. And it's going to be really hard for black to just win the game with his rook against our king without the help of his king, because it's stuck defending the pawn. So this position is really, really interesting. Now here white can play king to f1. And after king to c6, we play king to g2, the rook moves, and like I said, it's basically this rook against the king. So after rook to g8, we play king to f4, it just doesn't really matter, we just move around. After h5, we take the pawn, we play king to f3, now this is a little trick of course, if black takes the pawn, we have a check and we win the rook. So he can't take the pawn, he plays king to c6, and now we of course defend the pawn. And yeah, if black does nothing here, we're just gonna keep moving our king here, and it's just going to be a draw like that. Of course, if black tries to defend this pawn with the rook, and you know, in order to try to move his king away, then it's going to be king against our king, because these rooks are basically stuck here. And this as well is not winning at all for black. So he really has no other chance than to play something like f5, after which we can take the pawn, and now our rook is going to be free again. So, okay, after king to d5 attacking the rook, we play king to f4, he attacks the rook again, rook to g4, after he takes the pawn, now it's just a draw. You know, the material is equal, we have a passed pawn here also, but we can just draw easily by playing this. After he defends the pawn, we go here, you know, threatening to somehow activate here and attack all the other pawns. After he moves to the center with the king, we go back, and it's going to be a repetition of moves and a draw. So even though sometimes it might seem your piece is really passive, it might have a very important role. As you saw in this position, basically the rook had no other moves, but it was playing a crucial role of protecting all the pawns and also attacking the opponent's pawn, fixating his pieces on defending this pawn. So guys, if you like this video, please drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.